at matrices and systems of equations. And so if we think of systems of equations, what like set of equations, like what and what did we do in the past?
X and Y?
Well, X and Y, but like, how could you solve equations?
Like algebraically?
Yeah, two
equations, two unknowns.
Two equations, two unknowns. And what two ways did you solve those?
Algebraically and graphing it.
Yeah, you could do it graphically. And then when you did it algebraically, there were two ways.
You could do like substitution.
Substitution or
and
elimination. Okay. Then also we learned how to solve them with matrices. Okay. And really all those work pretty well for two equations and two unknowns, right? But when you got to three equations and three unknowns, substitution and elimination became really difficult, right? Like way harder than what you could do. I mean, you could do it, but you could sort of just barely do three equations and three unknowns. Well, what would happen if you had 7 equations and 7 unknowns, or 8 equations and 8 unknowns? What you would need is you would need a better technique. Okay, so we're going to learn how to do that. And what we're going to learn is we're going to learn how to use matrix manipulation to solve these things. Okay, the rules are very simple, but what you've got to do is you've just got to carefully apply the rules. So let's remember what a matrix is. It's what by what? Like if we have a matrix.
It's rows by columns.
Rows by columns. So this would be what?
The row 3.
It would be what by what?
It'd be 2 by 3.
2 by 3. Okay, so you've got to know the dimension. Rows by columns. Okay. So to solve a system of equation, you must first put them in augmented form. Okay. So to solve with matrices, you have to go to augmented form. Good news is it's easy to put things in augmented form. All right. The bad news is if you forget to do it, you're not going to get the right answer. So let's say that I had x plus 3y minus w equals 9. And let's say I have minus y plus 4z plus 2w equals minus 2. And let's say I have x minus 5z minus 6w equal 4. And I have 2x plus 4y minus 3z equal 4. Okay, so if you look at this, how would you describe this? I have what and what with this set of equations?
Just 1 second.
You have 4 equations and 4 unknowns.
I have 4 equations and 4 unknowns, so that means I can solve it. But what is kind of like not real good about this? Like, does everything line up?
No.
No. So you've got to go in and put it in augmented form. Like this one is missing what?
Z.
Z. This one is missing what?
X.
X. Okay. So we've got to write them where we put in the missing ones, and we have to put them in order. So it doesn't matter what order you put them, but they've all got to be in the same order. So we need to go X, Y, Z, W. Okay? So on this one, how would you rewrite this to include everything? X
Plus 3y
plus 3y.
minus w.
Ooh. X, Y
Oh, z. Sorry,
Okay.
so it'd be plus 0z?
plus 0, Z
Minus w.
minus W equals 9. Okay, Catherine, you do the next one.
Okay, 1 second. Okay, so it'll be 0x
0x
minus y
minus y
plus 4z
plus 4z
plus 2w
plus 2
equals negative 2.
equals negative 2. Okay, Emmy, you do the next one.
So it'd be x minus plus 0y minus 5z minus 6w equals 4.
Okay, and Catherine, you do the last one.
Okay, so it's going to be 2x plus 4y minus 3z plus 0w equals 4.
Okay, what did you say that, oh, plus 0w?
Yes.
Okay. And you see, write them real organized where like they literally line up on the paper so the numbers all line up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Now we are going to put it in so this is the setup, all right? This is the setup. You don't have it in augmented form, right? You're ready to go into augmented form. And so this is what augmented form is. Okay. So this is augmented form. And draw these really good. So the x's are going to be what? Tell me going down.
X.
Going down this way.
Yes.
1,
1.
0,
0,
1, 2.
2.
Okay. And what's y?
It's going to be 3, -1, 0, 4.
Okay. And what is z?
0, 4, -5, 4.
And I didn't leave enough room. I'm going to scoot this over to make sure I have enough room. Okay, now what is, we're to w, right? What's w?
-1, 2, -6, 0.
Okay. Now, this is what we do. You've got to get the whole thing in here, so you've got to put those in. But what you've got to do is where the equal sign is, you put like a colon, okay, on each row. So that tells you these are your variable, you know, coefficients. And now you put in what they're equal to. So what do we put in here?
9, -2, 4, and 4.
Okay, now you're in augmented form. Okay, now notice with 4 equations and 4 unknowns, we end up with a 4 by 5, right? Not a 4 by 4, 4 by 5, because we got to have a slot for these things. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now this is what you have to see, that we can solve this thing by doing allowed operations, and I will show you what the allowed operations are. But do you understand how to get to augmented form now?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's look at okay, let's look at how you can actually do manipulations to solve those equations. These are the things you can do, the rules of what you're allowed to do. You can only do what you're allowed to do. You can't go in and make something else up. Okay? You can swap 2 rows. Okay? So I can take 2 rows and I can trade them. And you'll see why that's a neat thing to do. Sometimes that will help you. Okay, number 2, you can multiply a row by a constant. You can multiply a row by a constant as long as it's not 0. So you can multiply a given row all the way across by any number you want except 0. Okay? And then you can add a multiple of one row to another. Okay, so like if I have row 2, I could add row 2 to row 3. Or I could take row 2 and I could add 3 times row 2 to row 3. So you can add one row to another. Does that make sense? Okay, and you'll see why you'll do this in a minute. So I can trade out 2 rows, I can multiply a row by a constant, or I can add a multiple of one row to another. All right, so, and when you do those, they are called equivalent matrices. So let's say I have 0, 1, 3, 4, minus 1, 2, 0, 3, 2, minus 3, 4, 1. Okay? Now, if I swapped those two rows, is that allowed?
Yes.
Okay, and what would I end up with?
You would end up with 2.
What?
Oh,
That one and that one.
Okay, so you end up with negative 1,
Okay.
2, 0, 3,
Uh-huh.
and then 0, 1, 3, 4, 2, negative 3, 4, 1.
Right? Okay. Those are equivalent. In effect, what you're saying is you haven't changed anything at all. And you could think of it like, what if I had x plus y equals 7 and x minus y equal 4? It doesn't matter which order you write them in, which equation you write first. So this is just saying it doesn't matter which equation you write first. Right? That makes sense. Okay. So then let's say I have 0, 1, 3, 4, and I have minus 1, 2, 0, 3, and I have 2, minus 3, 4, 1. Could I multiply row 1 times 5?
Yes.
Okay. Amy Grace, what would I end up with if I multiplied row 1 by 5?
So you'd have 0, 5, 15, 20.
Okay. And then minus 1, 2, 0, 3, 2, minus 3, 4, 1. Those are still equivalent because I followed a rule. Okay. All right. So let's look at this one. And this one kind of shows you what you can do, and you can kind of start seeing why you would want to do it. So let's say I have 1, 2, minus 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, minus 2, and then I have 6, 3, minus 2, and minus 1. And I always like, this is where you're starting. Now I'm going to put a note here of what I'm going to do, okay? And then you're going to do it, and then you're going to see what you end up with. Well, what if I say that I want to subtract 3 times R2? So is R1 and R2 going to be affected?
Yes.
No,
Wait.
because I'm just doing it to this row, right?
Oh.
Does that make sense? I can add a multiple of one row to another row. So it doesn't affect those, it just affects the one I'm adding to. So the first line is still going to be what?
So that'll still be 1, 2, negative 4, 3.
Okay.
And then you'll have 2, 1, 5, negative 2.
Okay. Now, this is going to be, how would I do this? If I'm going to subtract 3 times row 2, just sort of tell me how I would do the first one. So what would this position be? I'm going to subtract 3 times row 2. I would
So
start.
it'd be negative.
No, I would start with what?
Oh, 6.
6
Minus.
minus.
Negative 3. Or is the
No.
negative saying subtract?
Yeah, I'm saying
Okay.
subtract. So 6
minus
minus
3 times 2.
minus 3 times 2. That's what?
0.
0. Okay. Catherine, you do the next one for me.
Okay, so it's going to be 6,
It's going to be what?
or it'll be 3 minus 1 times
3.
No,
Times.
3.
3 times 1. There we go.
Okay. 3 times 1. So 3 minus 3 is
0.
0. Okay. Emmy, you do the next one.
So then you'd have negative 2 minus 3 times 5.
Minus 2 minus 15 is?
Negative 17.
Okay. And then I end up with, over here, Catherine, can you do that one?
So you're going to have negative 1 minus 3 times negative 2, which will be...
No. Let's see. Yes, you're right. Negative 2. So this would be negative 1 plus 6 is?
5.
5. Okay. Since I have a 0 and a 0, do you see this wasn't just a random thing. I got rid of two variables out of this equation. Do you see that? And so what you could see is if this was x, y, and z, you could say now that minus 17 times what? Z is equals 5. So you see, I just solved for z. Do you see that? Okay, now if I go in and what would I want? I would want to eliminate 2. And if I eliminated 2 and I knew z, I could then solve for, what's this one?
That's y.
Y. Do you see that? And now I know z and I know y and I could solve for x. So you see what you're trying to do? You're trying to get like something, 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 and something. You got to make that a 0 and you got to make those a 0, right? And now that is just equal to that, okay? And then once you know that, then put it in here. Do you see? Okay, well, we'll work a problem. Okay, we'll work a problem. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. We're going to work some problems here. This is called Gaussian elimination. Gaussian elimination. And then what we do is back substitution. Gaussian elimination with back substitution. Okay, what you want to do is you want to get, first of all, you put it in what form? You get what type of matrix? Starts with what? Starts with
the A word.
Augmented.
Augmented, thank you.
Put it in augmented form. Okay. And then you want to get in row echelon form, and I'll show you what that is. Okay. And then what is row echelon form? You want a 1 on the diagonal. 1 on the diagonal, and then leading zeros, right? Now, why do you do that? Because then this 1 tells you what your last variable is. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And what rules can you do? You can just do those 3 rules. Okay. You must get the matrix where it has row echelon form, which means that the diagonals are 1 and the before the 1 is 0. Well, this one doesn't have anything before it, so you have a 1, a 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, you know, however far you need to go. Okay? So, let's work a problem. So this again is called Gaussian elimination. Okay, I have x minus 2y plus 3z equals 9. I have minus x plus 3y equals minus 4. I have 2x minus 5y plus 5z equals 17. What's the first step?
Is the top one 9?
Yes. Okay. What is the first thing that I need to do?
Get it in augmented form.
Get it in augmented form. So, Catherine, help me with the first one. Augmented form. The first row becomes what?
It's going to be x minus 2y plus 3z equals 9. That one stays the
You
same.
got an easy one. Emmy, what's the next one?
So you have negative x plus 3y plus 0z equals negative 4.
Okay, and Catherine?
It's going to be 2x minus 5y plus 5z equals 17.
2x minus 5y plus 5z. You got the easy ones, right? Okay, so now we need to make the matrix, right? And then we are in augmented form. And I like to go down. And so what would my x's be, Emmy?
You would have 1, -1, and then 2.
Okay. And then what would my y's be, Catherine?
They're going to be -2, 3, -5.
-2, 3, -5. And then my z's are going to be what, Emmy?
3, 0, 5.
3, 0, 5. Okay. And then my colon. And then Catherine, what do I have?
It's going to be 9, -4, 17.
9, -4, and 17. Okay. Now I am in what?
Augmented form.
Okay. Now I want 1 diagonals all the way down. Like if I look at it, what is something I'm kind of happy with? Okay, what is something that I'm kind of happy with? What do I already have? How's my first row?
That first row is good.
Yeah. Now what if this one had been down at the bottom? What would have been a good first step?
You could swap.
Yeah, swap them to get it up there like that. So that's good. Now, if you were going to do something, tell me a good next step, Emmy. Like, what would you do? We're trying to get it in augmented form. And so...
So you...
Don't tell me, maybe don't tell me what to do. Tell me what you wish.
So we wish like -1 and 3 were zeros.
Well, just not you don't wish that's a 0. You wish 3 was a what?
A 1.
Okay, but let's not worry about that. Right now, we wish we wish this was what?
A 0.
0. So you want to get your 0 and then make it 1, and then get 0, 0, then make it 1. So get the 0, then get the 1. How could I make that -1 a 0 with one of those rules?
Could you
Add a multiple of one row to another?
Yeah,
So
which row should I add?
The first one.
Yeah, so I'm going to put my note out here, right? What am I going to do? I'm going to add what?
row 1?
1 times R1. Now, if this had been a -2, then I would need to add 2 times R1. All right? So does anything change on the first one?
No,
No. So I have 1, -2, 3, and 9. Now, on the second one, what does it become?
0.
Yeah, I better make this bigger. I kind of didn't leave enough room. Okay, so it becomes 0, because -1 plus 1 is 0. Then what?
1.
3, what?
Okay,
Yeah, 1.
So
Yeah,
it'd be
Yeah,
1.
it would be
it's
1.
1.
And then 3.
3. Do I stop there?
No. So
It's
then
what?
it'd be 5.
Okay. And now distance stays the same. 2 minus 5, 5, 17. Now we're going to have a lot of fixing to do down here, right? But we're not worried about this one. We're just getting row 2 in good shape. Okay, now what happened when we did that? We got lucky, right? How is it that we got lucky? Not only did we fix...
a 1 put in this.
Yeah, but that was just sheer luck. Now, if this had been a 3, then what I could have done is I could have multiplied the row by 1/3. Okay, but you see, sometimes you get a freebie like that. Now, Catherine, tell me what one number we have to deal with now.
Now we have to deal with 2.
Yes. Okay. Don't worry about the -5. We'll deal with that later. Right now, we want the 2 to become a what?
You want it to become 0.
So what would I do to make it a 0?
Could you subtract a multiple of one row?
Yeah. So
okay,
you would...
So you're going to do...
It'd be -2 times row 1.
minus
that would.
2 R1. And do you see the key to this is writing down the step that you're
Yes.
fixing to do? Okay. Does anything change in the first one?
No.
No. I have 1, minus 2, 3, 9. Second one's already good. 0, 1, 3, and 5. Now, Emmy, you help me with the third row.
So that would be 0.
That's 0. Okay.
So then you have -5 minus 2 times -2.
So that would
be
be
negative 9.
So, no, that's negative 5. Minus and a minus becomes a what?
A plus, so
Okay.
it'd be negative 1.
Negative 1. Okay. Now, help me with the next one.
So then you have 3 minus
You have what?
5, sorry. 5 minus 2 times 3, which is 6, so that'd be 1.
What? 5
Minus 6 is negative 1.
Okay. So you see, you guys need to, you're helping me, so thank you for helping me. But do you see that you need to write it down
Yes.
carefully? Because
Yes.
when you do it in your head, we're missing the negatives. We're either,
Yes.
right, okay. And then what's this one going to be, Catherine?
That is going to be 17 minus 2 times 5.
2 times what?
2 times 9.
Okay.
Okay,
So it'd be
it'll
negative 1.
Yeah, it'll be negative 1.
Negative 1. Okay, let me look and make sure that we got that right. Okay, that looks good. That looks good. All right, now, first row's done, second row's done. What do I need to do with the third row?
You need to get rid of that first negative 1.
Yeah, and what's the easiest way to do that?
Multiply the row by cons. No.
I want the negative 1 to become what?
0, so you
0.
need to add 1.
So, what's the easiest way to do that?
1 times row 1. Or plus 1 times row 1.
Plus 1 times row 1 would make that a negative 3.
Plus 1 times row 3. Or row 2.
Yeah, okay. Now, I could subtract 1/2 of row 1.
That just is hard. Let's
Yeah.
not do that.
Yeah, let's do this. So tell me what I'm going to write here.
So you're going to do on row
Plus
3 plus row 2.
row 2. Okay, so I'm going to plus row 2. So row 1 is still good. 1 minus 2, 3, and 9. 0, 1, 3, and 5. 0. Okay, now I'm going to add row 2. So 0 plus 0 is still 0. Minus 1 plus 1 is?
0.
Okay. And then minus 1 plus 3 is?
Negative 2.
What? Negative 1 plus 3?
2.
Okay. 2. And then what is this? Negative 1 plus? Negative 1 plus? What?
5.
Plus 5 is what?
4.
4. Okay. Oh, wow. We're so close. What's the one thing that I need?
You can
You can
divide
take
by
out of 2.
2.
I want the 2 to become a...
1.
Now, I don't do that with other rows. I do that just by what?
Taking out a 2.
Multiplying
By a constant.
by a
so
constant.
you would multiply row 3 by 1/2.
Times 1/2. Okay? And now I have 1 minus 2, 3, 9, 0, 1, 3, 5, 0, 0, what?
1,
1, and then what?
2.
2. Okay, and remember, this is like x's, this is y's, and this is z's. And so at this point, this is what you've got to see. Okay, what do you know? What do you know at this point?
Z equals 2.
Z equals 2. Okay? Z is equal to 2. Now, what is the next variable that I want to find?
Y.
Y. So and I would get Y from which row?
The 2.
Row 2. So write the equation. What would the equation be?
Be Y plus
1Y, right? 1Y, what?
plus 3Z.
Plus 3, and what is Z? Okay, we'll just say plus 3Z is equal to what?
5.
5. All right. Now, what's the good news? I know Z is what?
Z is equal to 2.
So I have Y plus what?
6.
6 is equal to what?
5.
5. So Y is equal to what, Catherine?
Y is equal to negative 1.
Okay. Okay, Catherine, do you see where we got this equation from?
Yes, sir.
Where did I get this equation from? Which row?
You got it from row 2.
Okay, so it's 1 times
Y
plus,
3 times Z equals 5.
okay, and then I know what?
You know Z.
So I get what?
you get 6. And
Okay,
then y equals
very good. So
Okay.
now, what do
You
I
would
need?
have
What do I need now?
1x.
I need z.
X.
So
You
yeah,
need x.
so I'm going to say x.
Okay, you'll
Okay.
say x equals
No, wait a minute. Which row do I use?
row 1
Row 1. Okay, so x
minus 2y
minus 2y
plus 3z
plus 3z
equals 9.
equals 9. Okay, what's the good news?
You know x and y.
I know y
I
and
mean
z.
y and z.
Okay, so x minus 2y would become what? Plus 2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then, I'm sorry, I need x here, right? Okay.
And then that would be plus 6.
Plus 6 equals 9. So x is equal to
x equals 1.
1. Okay, 1, negative 1, 2. Do you see that?
Yes.
Is this sort of logical? Okay, so let's just see. What do? We check our work. Now, do you all, I think you all understand perfectly how to do it, but when you were trying to do all of it in your head, every other time you were giving me the wrong answer. So write it down, write down that this would be 1 plus, write it down so you don't make a mistake in there. But look, when you come in and say, I'm not getting the right answer, you just got to go back and you got to find your mistake, right? Because you know this works. You just got to find your mistake. And so let's check it. So if I have, let's just check this one, right? So I would put in what for x?
1.
1. And then
Plus 2
plus
times
2.
negative 1.
Okay,
No.
it's a negative and a
Oh,
negative.
you already did that.
So plus 2, right? And then plus what?
6.
6 is equal to 9. 9 equals 9. Right? So if you put them in, then they work.
Yes, sir.
Now, even though this is tedious, is this like a lot easier way to do 3 equations and 3 unknowns?
Yes.
Okay, I think it is a way, way easier way to do 3 equations and 3 unknowns. All right? Let's see. Let me do, let's do one more. Okay? How much time do we have?
We have 7 minutes left.
Okay. Let me go ahead and give you today's homework, and then I'll do another example tomorrow. We're going to spend a couple of days on this. And so this is Chapter 8, Section 1. And then I'll go ahead and give you the different homeworks. All right? So to do tomorrow is 10 through 16, 18 through 20, 23 through 24, 47, and then 65, 66, 67. Don't panic, because I think a lot of those are just putting it in an augmented form.
Yes.
There's probably 2 or 3 that you have to do what I just did on. And then do Wednesday are 68 through 70 and 73 through 74. And that's probably these these 4 or 5 problems you're going to have to do the whole thing on. Okay, so that's it.